All right, everyone. Welcome back to Story Time with Sarge. Today I'm going to be talking to this lamp right here. It's an interesting lamp. It's got a lot of stories to tell. It's seen some things. But last week we talked about the different powers, that's like my favorite topic to ever talk about. Lamp here was lucky enough to experience when I switched over to using expert power, and a little bit of reverent power, because of the toxicity before. And like I told you, I came to a realization that soldiers needed to be treated better. You don't have to treat them like crap to get them to listen to you. And the people who do are a lot of times they're people who just don't know how to lead, or nervous, scared. They want you to see their authority. So they kind of force it to happen. Isn't that right, Lamp? Oh, there you go. Yep, I knew you'd agree with me. But so after this is one of my last platoons I had. I was a platoon sergeant in Fort Lewis, Joint Base Lewis McChord, and this is before I started to go teach at the Human Intelligence Schoolhouse. I had a handful of soldiers there. I mean, I went through a lot of them. Most of them broke their legs, and I had to execute them. But the ones who made it, they were fine soldiers. They got the best of me. They got the leader who got too old to want to deal with all the bull crap, who was still young and I guess sprightly enough to have a really good time and train hard. And when I got to that platoon, I wasn't initially in charge of the platoon. I was a squad leader in it. And then the platoon sergeant that was there had moved to another company. And sorry, my dog's here. I moved to another company, and I took over the platoon. And not Lamp. I'm finished interviewing Lamp now. I'm actually going to talk to you about a soldier that I had there. He was one of my first soldiers. He was like the hardest soldier to figure out as far as a person is concerned. I was very confused by his approach to existence. And what I loved about him is you could yell and do whatever you had to do, and he always remained super calm. My first interaction with him, just trying to calm him down, is the old platoon sergeant we were in the field, we're out doing some training, and he was yelling at him, just like screaming and hollering and cussing at him and belittling him, and this soldier just remained so calm the whole time, just like followed the instructions, did what he had to do, and just dealt with the yelling. And there was one point I was like, "Hey man, you're doing great. Don't listen to him. You're doing awesome." We still joke about that today, but his name is Freddie. At that point, it was Private Bourgeois. Now it's Staff Sergeant Bourgeois. So you can jump on in here and get rid of Lamp. Oh,
sorry, Lamp. Hey.
I had a good talk with Lamp.
Happy to be here. Love San Francisco City. Yeah.
How surprised you are to be here. So this is Freddie, everyone. Freddie's hair wasn't always short. He's a recruiter now, so he's got to look Army. More Army. But one of the stories we're going to talk about is a little bit about how toxic leadership affects an entire platoon. Freddie was there for every single bit of my time at Joint Base Lewis McChord. He was in my platoon for probably 90% of it. There's a sad story as to why I had to kick him out of my platoon. But I had to kick him out. He broke his leg, and I didn't want to execute him. He was too pretty, too beautiful. So I couldn't see putting a bullet in the back of his head, so I kept him around. But Freddie, you want to introduce yourself real quick? Oh, yeah, by the way, Josh, this is for you, buddy. So, go ahead. Oh, good. My internet connection is unstable, so hopefully you come in really terrible.
Yeah, I probably will. I can barely hear what you're saying, but yeah,
Perfect.
I'm real happy to be here. I just gotta say, I loved being on your team for that long. I didn't realize it at the time, but like that experience, not many people get that. A lot of times, there's a lot of like personnel movements. People go all over the place. So I just think like having that stability really was an awesome thing.
Good.
So I loved it. 4 years basically, just under you,
Yeah. Yep. Good. I'm glad. There were a small handful that got to stay in the platoon. I want to say like 4 people were there like the entire time. But so this was, we're going to talk about the build up to our deployment to Afghanistan in 2016, and where insanely toxic leadership got in the way of valuable training, and it really did some damage to our team morale wise. So we had a battalion command team that was actually pretty decent for a while. It was mostly, it seemed like they were mostly there for a popularity contest. In fact, our first, we do these things called command climate surveys, which means you get to complain about a lot of stuff and nothing really happens. But you still get to complain about a lot of stuff. And sometimes, occasionally things get fixed. If they do find there's a leader in the ranks that's causing them too many problems with where their name comes up too many times, a lot of times they'll move that person to a position where they better fit. You've heard, I don't know if you've heard this, but in the Army, they call it mess up, move up. That's pretty much what happens. You make big mistakes, you get to go to an S shop and get into a position where you actually have control in the battalion and you can make bigger decisions on behalf of all the soldiers. It's great. So if you mess up, you move up. Remember that. But I know there's a lot of people that are going to respond to this and tell me how wrong I am. But prove me wrong. So, and there are occasional people that go to a 3 shop or a 2 shop, whatever, because they need the growth. They really do. It's important to get that kind of growth in your career. Luckily, I had mine before this. Anyway, these people, you can tell during that command climate survey that it was very much like these guys that left were terrible and we're coming in and we're great and you're going to love us. It's very much like that. Freddie, am I wrong? You remember that day at the chapel?
You're not wrong.
So that's what we had coming in, and it wasn't too bad. We did this training before we did our first major training exercise before our deployment. We did this thing in the armor units. They call it Table 6. Well, it's called Table 6 Gunnery. And MI, not to be outdone, came up with Table 6 MI Gunnery. Yeah, it was great. But it was actually what it did, even though it was a silly name and stuff, they laid out every single one of our tasks, and we were able to train on every one of our tasks. And during that train up, I found out, before that, I found out I made the promotable status. I got turkey on my face. All right, so I became promotable to sergeant first class, and I handled that like a man, like any man would. I think more chest hairs grew when I found out. I came down on orders to go to Mississippi to be an instructor, as observer, controller / trainer out there, and I wanted to deploy with my platoon. I had Freddie. I had a bunch of names. I'm not gonna name all of them, but there are a couple. Amanda, I'll give you a shout out. And Hayden and Aaron. Aaron, you don't listen. Never mind. You don't get a shout out. But I had a pretty big team. Trevor was huge for our team. I mean, that guy, I'll have him on here too. We'll try to narrow down to the not so inappropriate stories to get on here. But yeah, but Freddie was there the entire time. And Freddie's team actually was the #1 team in the entire brigade. Right? Were you on Trevor's team? You were, right?
Sure was.
And Freddie even kicked the guy in the chest during the middle of an interrogation, and they still came out #1. So remember, he stood up and you leaned back and kicked him in the chest. You don't remember that in the booth?
I do remember that.
Oh, you do?
No,
Okay.
I definitely did it. I didn't kick him. I very sensually sat him down with my foot. It wasn't a
He fell
kick.
down a well.
I didn't strike. Yeah, I wasn't actually on. I wasn't on Trevor's team for that one.
Oh,
Yeah, I was on his team after that.
oh yeah, that's right. Well, y'all were number one in my heart. Just know that. So we were doing that train up, and I went to my battalion commander and I said, "Hey, I really want to deploy with my platoon. I've been training them for 3 years now, almost. Like, if I don't deploy with these guys, I'm not going to say it'll crush me because I'm a man with a hairy chest, but I really want to deploy with them. Like, I loved my team. I told you the story last podcast. I genuinely love my soldiers. I love soldiers in general, but these guys became my family. We would literally, I would have the whole platoon over for cookouts at the house. It was a good team. As a matter of fact, Thanksgiving, right behind me, Thanksgiving. My platoon came over again. We had a bunch of tables and chairs all over the house. Barely had room in the house, but my entire platoon who was able to come came. I think it was everyone. We were a tight-knit family, so I didn't want to leave these guys. So I convinced my battalion commander to get my orders rescinded and make it so I could deploy. And it worked. Like, she wrote a letter to Department of the Army, and they're like, okay, cool, he can deploy with y'all. This is when they still liked me, because my teams literally were number 1 and number 1 and 3 in the entire brigade. That's right. We didn't get number 3. I didn't get number 2 because there's a couple people on that team. They talk like this.
Because I kicked a guy.
And you kicked a guy. It's true. They were upset. Like, they were really upset with him. So we had to go do some training at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland. This was it was just my team. It was just us, and it was really cool training. But we would play pranks on each other back and forth. We had our human intelligence guys and our signals intelligence guys, and we all had our own. We each had our own vehicle, and we had our signals maintainers, and they had their own car. There were only 4 of them, yeah. So, but the rest of us have these 14 passenger vans, and we would go with, like, we bought a bunch of saran wrap and wrapped their vehicle. We got what did we get at Walgreens that day? We
snowball.
Did we get the egg stocking
we got
things?
pantyhose. Yeah, we got pantyhose, but we didn't know it came in different sizes.
Yep, that's right.
So we bought like extra small pantyhose, and we couldn't pull it down all the way.
Couldn't even get them on our faces.
Just like went down to our nose. Yeah, it's just like barely down to our nose.
Oh, and silly string. Yep. And they were in Chili's.
That's right.
Yeah, we got all that stuff, and they were in Chili's. We buried their van in snow the best we could. It was wintertime. So we did like little silly pranks like that. But the problem is that when they retaliated with pranks, they went way too far. And it was one night, it was actually after the snow and the silly string incident. These guys came into my room, and it was me. Freddie, were you in that room? Were you in the room at that point? Or was it Trevor in there with me?
Yeah, but I was off to the side. Yeah.
Okay. So me, Freddie, Amanda,
I was
Trevor.
in the corner.
Hayden was in there too, right? There was a bunch of us hanging out, drinking some beers.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Yeah, and we invited our signals intelligence guys down. Like, hey, guys, come on down for a drink. And they came in with, what was it? Was it baking soda? No, it was flour, right? Yeah.
Flour, yep, flour and
like
water.
a 5-pound bag of flour, or no, it was bigger. It had to be 10 pounds, like two big 10-pound bags. And another guy had a bucket of water.
Yeah.
And they went to throw it on us and throw the water on us, so it stick to us. But it went everywhere. It ruined my computer. I lost my laptop. It became a casualty that day. But what's worse is it went all over the floor. The carpets were ruined. The furniture was ruined. And the hotel staff saw the video. They knew it would happen, but I lied to them, and I was like, hey, I was trying to bake. I dropped a bag of flour, and the table fell over, and there was water on it too. And Wink, wink. Like they knew the mistake, but they knew I was trying to fix it. So I went and I rented a carpet cleaner for 2 weekends in a row and just scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed that carpet. It never came out. They had to replace the carpet. So not only did they replace the carpet, but they called our unit. They called the bosses who had set this all up. And all they told them is, well, no, that wasn't the final straw. What the final straw was, we went out the last week there, and we went did some karaoke. And I still have my love note from Freddie. It's in my wallet. But
you kept it?
I still have that. Yeah. We did karaoke and we came back, and we got everyone to bed because there were some people who could not walk straight. And we got them all to bed. And I went to my bed, and we woke up the next morning, and there was peanut butter rubbed on every single door surface, every handle. They got into a couple of the rooms that were open for some reason, and they went and put it all over their bathroom walls, like everywhere. Peanut butter everywhere. The hotel was furious because of peanut allergies. That's when they called our bosses, even though we went down and we scrubbed everything. Like, well, I made them do it. I didn't do it. I made the guys who made the mess clean it up. But they called our unit, and our unit was irate. That started us off on a bad foot. We got back there, and actually we ended up having to – one of the major culprits, because he was on camera, was one of the guys I had to fire. So I had to get rid of this guy. I can't mention his name because I didn't ask for permission. But not long after that, I had to give him the boot. Freddie, if you don't know who I'm talking about, he's the one that ruined my couch. There you go. You remember? You remember who it is?
Sure do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So
I definitely do.
So that was fine, right? I got rid of the guy who did the most of the mess. I gave the other guys, a counseling, and I punished them. I had already beat them up verbally pretty bad and made them feel bad. So my thing is, if you already feel bad about something, why am I going to keep trying to make you feel worse? You're already there. You made it. So I don't really keep going. When someone's in trouble, I let them know and I move on, and I expect them to move on, right? If I don't, I can't expect them to do it if I'm going to sit here and continue to yell at them. So I got yelled at a whole bunch for them from my company, from the battalion, then my company again. And all I told them was, hey, guys, don't do it again. I got in trouble. That's it. They don't need to know all the details. So moving on to Camp Bullis. Camp Bullis is in Texas with the worst bathrooms ever. Freddie used to have long flowing locks on the top of his dome. The sides were always as short as they are now, or shorter. But he had long hair on the top, always. It was amazing. As a matter of fact, he won a competition in one of our training exercises at Lewis between him and some infantry guys, one of their snipers, and he won. So no big deal. I'll do the bragging for him.
Best hair.
Yeah, you had to win, man. So they always had a problem with his hair. And then now that we were on their radar for the troublemaking team, Freddie became their new target. And so did one of my other soldiers, Mark. Mark, I'm only going to use your first name for now because I didn't ask you permission to throw you in here, but they became a target. And Freddie, this poor guy, man, like, I would spend hours, literally arguing, like coming to yelling matches with my command team over Freddie's hair, because the regulation simply states, like, a well-maintained haircut. It just says keep your hair off your ears, all that stuff. It didn't even say that. It says keep it tapered. But we add things to it because Army, right? So it was neat in appearance. It was tapered. It met all the standards for the Army. There's no length. There's no, like, in the regulation doesn't state how long it can be on top. It just says it can't be fattish. And it was a gentleman's haircut. Look at the guy. Look at him. Look at him. Turn around. Show us your back. No, I'm just kidding. So there, see that? Look at him. He's a gentleman. So I would go round and round with these guys, and what it finally came down to is the commander said, he kind of said he didn't care, but the first sergeant said, "This is my commander's company, so I speak for him when I say cut it." And we had gotten beat up so much by that point. There's a story in between there I'm going to tell that Freddie literally, I went and told him, I was like, "Hey, we have no choice, man. We got to figure out where we're going to find a barbershop because we can't leave the camp here. We got to get your hair cut." And he cut his hair with a pocket knife. Like, it got that bad. So, Freddie, I'm going to turn this over to you because I've been talking the whole time. You've been watching. I want to know what was going through your head at that point when you ended up pulling the pocket knife out. What was your thought process?
I think really it was like the sequence of events, right? Because we got there, we had team hats. They are great hats, but the command team didn't like them, right? So that was strike one. So they started targeting us more because they were just nitpicking, right? And then there was some stuff with Mark that they didn't like, and then me, it was like, "Hey, you need to get a haircut." So I did. I got a haircut earlier that day. And I remember I cut 2 inches off the top of my head. That's how long it was. I cut 2 inches off, and they're still like, not good enough. Keep going. And really, I didn't like the way they looked at us, like as a team, because that team really did mean everything to me. It really was like a family. The way they would like talk down to you, like all the beatings you took, like I hated it. So me just being extra dramatic was like, screw this. You want me to cut my hair? I'll do it. Yeah. I've had the same knife forever. So I was like, whatever. And then actually when I went to go cut it in the bathroom, like after that to like make sure everything like lined up, and there was this guy in there, I guess, so someone in that bathroom, because the bathrooms at Bolus were gross. So people didn't want to like shave in the bathrooms. So it would go to like this other facility where the bathrooms were nice, and they would shave there. And there was like hair in the sink already. So I went in there, like, make sure my hair was good. There was like, I don't know if you know, when you shave, like all that little hair is in the sink. So that was still there. This guy walks in and was like, "Clean that up." I was just like, "What? You want me to do what? You want me to clean the sink?" Yeah. So I had to clean up someone else's hair too, and then finish cutting mine.
I didn't even know about that.
So that
You
was
didn't
a good
tell me
time.
that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So, he mentioned our team hats. Do you have yours handy, or I can run upstairs, but it'll be an awkward silence. Mine's up in the kitchen.
Oh man, I had to run like 3 or 4 miles.
I can tell.
Yep, there's the hat.
There it is. So that's our team hat.
I'm not even out of breath.
Ball cap. Trevor actually bought those, and we all just, of course, we paid him back. But yeah, we designed a team logo, all voted on it. Thank goodness you can't see the words, but yeah, that's our team hat. So everyone
right there.
Our first sergeant, before we had moved to a different first sergeant, he loved it. I actually gave him one. He said, "Hey, as long as you're inside your workspace, you can wear them inside. And you can wear them. But when you leave this building, when you leave your workspace, put your uniform hat back on." Right? So that's what we did. And Trevor was in our work tent at Camp Bullis, literally working in his workspace. I got to figure out how to cut that part out. The major, who was our battalion executive officer, came in and started yelling at my shoulder. Now, I was not there. I was back signing for equipment over by where we were sleeping. So I wasn't at the actual work tent. I get there, and everyone's like at the gate waiting for me, like, "Sergeant Eck, you need to come talk to the BC right now." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I go in there, and they start yelling at me, and they got mad at me because I was remaining calm the whole time. I think they wanted me to like get scared. I don't do that. I'm too old for that crap, right? So They start yelling at me, and I'm just sitting there listening, yell, oh, okay, your team had a hat. So when it's my turn to talk, I was like, well, we had permission to wear these as long as we're in our workspace. That's a civilian hat. You can't wear that, all this stuff. So I was like, okay, fine. We won't do it anymore. But we already labeled as the guys who wear whatever they want because they're too cool. I was like, oh, my gosh. Okay. We had permission from someone. That someone is not here. So, okay, cool. This is your standard. We'll take them off. Well, let's leave it at that. They couldn't just leave it at that. So they took those from us, which was a way. It was a bump in our morale, right? We already felt like we're getting pretty beat down. All eyes were on us. There were other teams telling us like, "Holy crap, what'd you guys do?" Like, thank goodness you guys are in so much trouble because they're not even looking at us. So we were already to a point where like, okay, cool, no hats, whatever. We put them all up. That night, we were still allowed to leave the base, but we had a curfew. That same major gave us a curfew. We all went to the Riverwalk. We were in San Antonio, so we went to Riverwalk, walked around that, literally walked a circle, and then we ate at a restaurant and came home. And one of the guys that was with us, it's not one of the guys in my platoon, it was another guy. He was a warrant officer, came in with this big white hat on. It's one of those restaurants where they treat you like crap and they talk trash to you and they throw stuff at you or whatever. It's one of those restaurants. And he came in wearing that, and that major came out and starts yelling at us again. So we had to send all the soldiers away while me and that warrant officer got yelled at. And it was really dumb. I will say that some of the stuff we did painted a target on our backs, but it's things that if we hadn't already gotten in trouble, it's things that would have been overlooked. Yeah, so this is like 3 things that happened before the training even started. And then we start our training, and this is where Mark got in trouble. It's one of the things. This isn't the main one, but so when you're deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq, sometimes you have a camelback on. When you go out on mission, you definitely carry your camelback. But water bottles. There's water bottles everywhere. And I always tell my soldiers, train with common sense. Train like you fight. Don't just carry all this crap just because we have to, right? So I made our uniform. You put a camelback on your back, but we're putting water bottles in our MATV because that's what we were going to do down in Afghanistan. We're going to fill our trucks up and we're going to put them on the back with tons of water. And that's what we did. As a matter of fact, my lieutenant in Afghanistan was like, I thought you were BSing us about this. I didn't know this was an actual standard. Yeah. But they wanted us to have not only our camelbacks, but canteens filled with water on our sides. If you knew the kind of missions we had to do, you would know that that's such a stupid inconvenience. It's too bulky. We had to carry cameras and all this other crap around with us. So we didn't know that was a standard, because that wasn't a standard before they saw us without them. So we got yelled at for that. I was like, well, we have water sources. They're in our trucks. Our signal guys, they almost never leave their truck, and we're going to carry ours in our cargo pockets when we walk out because it's literally what we do in Afghanistan. So there was a big fit about that, about NCOs, about leaders not checking their soldiers for canteens and all this other stuff. It was a big stupid thing that was blown out of proportion for no reason at all. And again, my soldiers were just constantly they felt seriously beat down, seriously. And not even a week into it, this is the saddest part. Here it comes. We were cleaning our weapons. And so our lieutenant, let me back up, had been trying to fire Freddie for weeks before this, looking for every reason to fire him and get rid of him. And I can't let that happen. It's not gonna. I could not let it happen. I would fight it and fight it and fight it. Y'all wouldn't believe the amount of behind closed doors fighting I did on behalf of my platoon, because either one, somebody wanted my soldiers, but I had already sent them to schools and all this other training so they could be the best team ever. So why would I get rid of them? I told you, expert power, right? Like, I wanted a team full of experts, and I got that. By the time we deployed, we had a team full of experts. Nobody. They tried to fire me. I'll get back to you on that one. But anyway, for weeks they've been trying to get rid of Freddie, move him to another platoon. I would never let it happen. Well, we were cleaning weapons, and Freddie made a mistake. It was a little mistake that could have easily been. I would have swept it under the rug because people make mistakes. I told you guys, people make mistakes. It happens. But that was like the one last straw for a lieutenant, and it was something I could not fight. It was an unfightable case at that point. He left my hands tied, and my lieutenant fired him. And I was irate. I was furious with that guy. I was furious with Freddie for making that mistake and tying my hands. But I was furious with my lieutenant because I was more mad because he was right. It had to happen. And that's when I lost Freddie in my platoon. Luckily, he ended up back in my platoon while we were in Afghanistan. Thanks to a sweet deal you had worked out with Trevor. But yeah, so because of all that stuff added up, I had to fire him. I had to get rid of him. And I've gotten rid of a lot of soldiers, and none of them hurt as bad as that one because I knew how hard I knew what a great soldier he was. In fact, my first training exercise with this platoon, I had to follow Freddie around because I was a squad leader. I was supervising. I was literally learning how to be a multifunctional team NCO leader. And Freddie was so good at it, I followed him around. I watched him take his pictures. I watched how he did his labeling system, his marking system. In fact, Freddie's standard was our platoon standard when it came to marking because he was so good at it. I was so impressed that anytime our platoon did training, I made Freddie teach them how to do it. I said, you're going to listen to Specialist Bourgeois at that time, and he's going to tell you how to mark. He's going to tell you how to do everything. And he did. That's how much I loved having him around. He was really good, and he taught me. So that's all I care about. Me. So yeah, that's our that story. I will tell you mine. Now that I forgot what it was, I said something. What was it, Freddie? Oh, that I almost got fired. All right. Well, in Afghanistan,
almost got fired.
Yeah, that same battalion leadership was our boss, was our leadership in Afghanistan, and we ended up being in the same exact building as them. And when you're deployed, a lot of times your teams are not co-located with your battalion headquarters. They needed to keep a close eye on us because we were a bunch of bad dudes. No, I'm just kidding. That's not why. It was just that it worked out that way that we're in the same building. But because we had already been so tightly watched by everybody to look for they scrutinized every mistake we made. No matter what happened to a soldier, I had to go see the sergeant major. There was no more like first sergeant yelling at me. I had to go to sergeant major every time. And every single time he tried to fire me, he couldn't do it because we were the best trained platoon there. I was the only platoon sergeant with all the training required to be on a multifunctional platoon, in a multifunctional platoon as a platoon sergeant. No one else could do it. They weren't qualified. It would have disqualified the multifunctional platoon and made them non-deployable, non-combat ready. So they had to keep me. And I've told my students this before, but that's the importance of expert power. Again, I'm bringing back the power situation. Be an expert at everything you do because once you get so good, you become the guy, one or girl, that everyone wants to come and ask questions for. These guys called me Ecopedia. Brian came up with that one, right? Because I wanted to know a little bit about everything. I wanted to make sure I was never going to be wrong because I enjoy arguing sometimes. But also I wanted my soldiers to know that they could count on me. So literally, that's what got me to where I couldn't be fired because no one else was qualified to do it. They could have fired me. I mean, they had all the right to do it, but they didn't. So I fired Freddie though because he wasn't an expert. I'm just kidding. Yeah, yours. Yeah. So that's our story together, and we have a lot more. Freddie, you have any stories you want to tell about our time together? Oh, I shaved Freddie's
Ooh.
face before. So there's
You
that.
sure did.
So when I go to the field, I
It was a
pamper myself.
cold. Yeah.
It was cold. I'm gonna grab another beer. This is for you, Freddie.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So when I go to the field, let me tell you, I hate shaving my face. A lot of you probably didn't know that, but I hate shaving my face. Oh, it's another fat tire, Freddie. This one's for you.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, I would bring a stove out that I bought when I was in Korea and a little silver pot, and I would boil water in the morning, and I'd pour it in my canteen cup. It's a metal cup, and that's what I'd shave out of every day. And Freddie was my driver, so Freddie got to enjoy all the riches of war.
Life of luxury.
And that actually provided heat for us one training when it was snowy out. We hid inside the truck with the heater on, and it wasn't good enough, so we turned the stove on. Remember that? We were so stupid. We could have got the fire, but it was too cold. The flames burnt. They went out because it was that cold. Remember. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, we boil water. Huh?
I said, yeah, it wouldn't, like, the stove wouldn't even turn on because it was so cold.
It was so cold. It like made the gas freeze somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were shaving, and people were. Oh, what?
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember being in my sleeping bag that morning and like just not wanting to leave, and like the frost, like the zipper was like stuck, and I was just like, I'm just gonna lay here. And you're like, hey, Freddie, get up, come on. And I would just like move my feet around, act like I'm like getting up,
would yell
and
at you
just
for
like
that
stay in the
specifically.
sleeping bag. Yeah. Yep.
I can't freeze alone. Get out here. Yeah. And those sleep bags sucked. My feet would always freeze in them. And you know what? They put a tent up because it was that cold and put a heater in it. But me and Freddie and Brian slept outside under my camo net. We were all spooned right next to each other, our sleeping bags. Under a tarp, too. We put a tarp over our sleeping bags. It was so cold.
Yeah, we were trying to survive. Yeah, it was terrible.
So, and that's when we climbed in the Humvee.
We don't need a tent.
One, the three of us. So we anyway, we're shaving one morning with our hot water, and they were like, wait a minute, you have hot water? Where did you get that? So I was like, oh yeah, watch this. And I started shaving Freddie's face for him because I take care of him. And he let me shave his face. Yeah, somewhere there's pictures of that. I still haven't. I think I've seen them once. I don't know. But Freddie, let's hear it, man. I think I interrupted you when you were about to tell a story.
Oh, it was just that the sleeping bag. Because we would have to wake up every morning at 6 a.m. and like do our stand to and just look at the wood line. And it was too cold, so we didn't want to do that. But I never wanted to get out of the sleeping bag, and you were just like, "Come on, you got to stand out here with me." Like, Freddie, get up! And I just moved my feet around just because I didn't want to get out of bed. But I wanted you to think like I was getting dressed, so you know.
Misery loves company. And I would tell him, like, I know you're just kicking your feet. Come on, get up. I was miserable. I'm not a morning person. I hated waking up in the morning. What? Oh yeah. What else do I hate, Freddie? Do you remember what I always complained about every time we're on an FTX?
Rain. It was rain.
Yes.
Yep.
Hate rain. I like it now that I have a farm, but I hated it when I was trying to train and be outside, and it was miserable. Freddie, the helicopter one. I'm not going to talk about all the stuff on that exercise, but I made this poor guy. All right. I told you I counted on Freddie for a lot of stuff, and he was also my weapons expert. Like the dude was I'll tell you later what I'm not going to talk about. But this dude, I made him, was it the SAW or the 240 Bravo that I had? You had a 240, right?
240. Yeah,
yes.
240.
So I made Freddie not only carry the 240 Bravo everywhere he was, which is a 7.62 weapon. It's heavy. But we get to our spot, right? In the MFT, like our platoon, our multifunctional teams were heavily relied on our, but everyone loved us. It was mostly because of our signals guys, not us. But they used our team for everything. And I made him and Brian go pull over an Overwatch spot so they would have a good angle at the entire village we were at. These poor dudes had to go into some weeds that hadn't been cut in years. And I'm talking about, how far are you? Are you there yet? Are you there yet? These guys were like, seriously, like, this was taller than them. They had to like fight through them. We're in all of our gas. Weren't we in MOP 4 or MOP 3 or something with our mask ready?
It was MOP 4.
Yes, because it was a chemical attack.
Yeah.
Yes. And, yep. So I made these guys and when they finally got to the hill that I was putting them at, they just got there and were setting up their fighting position. I called them back. And it wasn't to be a jerk. It was just the end of mission. Like, they got their target. Like, I felt so bad. These guys came back. Not only did they come back, but we had to ruck back to where the helicopter was. And this poor guy, like, we're carrying big old 5-gallon buckets of water and rotating them out. Freddie, again, he was my 240 Bravo gunner. We had an ambush, and Freddie was in the back of the formation. He had to run in all of his gear with the 240 Bravo, all this stuff. I'm telling you, with MOP gear, those civilians who don't know, it's this extra protective clothing that we have to wear for chemical and nuclear and biological attacks, not in that order, and radiological attacks. And this poor dude, with all that, had to run to the front. It was like, I want to say 100 meters plus, to the front of our entire company and react to this assault, this ambush we had on our left side. Like a boss, he did it. He got up there and like he crushed it in all that gear. So you can see why I relied on him pretty heavily. He was so dependable, so freaking dependable. And yeah, so I put him through a lot of stuff, and he was already not feeling too good that mission. It was rough. So. And I didn't know it. I didn't know he was sick. I just made him. He just sucked it up. He was like, I guess I'll just go and do this while I'm sick. So that was rough. But yeah, Freddie's he was always super dependable. And I'm gonna go back to the expert power thing. And Freddie, I want to talk to you. When I first took over as your platoon sergeant, I want to know what your first opinion was. Like, you don't have to tell me about myself or whatever, but what's your first opinion? Like, oh crap, I got to deal with this guy, or what did you see? What kind of leadership did you see? I want to see if it actually resembles what I was trying to put out.
Well, it started before that. When you were the squad leader, right? I think it was like your second day, maybe even your first day. You came to like visit. You were like just about to go on permissive TDY. It's like you just came to like introduce yourself, and you picked me and one other soldier, and we're just like, hey, one of the things I do is when I first get someplace, I pick 2 people to mentor, and I chose you 2. Congratulations, welcome to the family. And you you invited us over for Easter, and I remember it was just it was incredible. Like, I never thought that. Because my experience up into the Army at that point was just all like drill sergeants, AIT platoon sergeants, right? And just being yelled at constantly. So then, like, suddenly it was just a complete like paradigm shift. Like, hey, you can be nice to someone and still like lead them and teach them. And yeah, you brought me into your life more than you were just like, you got to do this, this, and this. Yeah, and then that carried over. It's like when you were platoon sergeant, I was so excited. I was like, oh. No way. We have someone that like cares about us, that's gonna lead us and always be there for us. And then like really, I didn't see, or maybe I didn't understand, like being an expert until you start like harping on it constantly. Like learn this, and you always tell stories. Back when I was I'm MLRS. Well, we were the best team ever. We just load all the guns so fast. You're always talking like that, like take initiative, like constantly, like find something to do. And so that stuck with me. Yeah, you like really ingrained in all of us, like become an expert, take initiative, and just get after it, I guess.
Awesome.
So I loved it. I loved
just
having you. Yeah.
You just led me to a question that I got this morning, messaged to me by someone who,
Oh yeah.
long-time listener, first-time messenger. I'm just kidding. I've only been doing this. Hold on, let me find that message. Hold on, I'm gonna find it. All right, so no, I don't want you to go away. Okay, so he asked me. I'm just gonna call you Fox since that's what you're going by here. He wants to know what he can do. You might be able to answer this too, Freddie. I have my advice, but I'd like to hear it from you, who is a specialist a lot more recently than I was. I still wore like the green Vietnam uniforms when I was a specialist. I'm just kidding. That's not true. All right. What can I do as a specialist,
Yeah, it was World War I.
or really any rank in the Army, to stand out above my peers? He said it's something that he's asked his leaders, but they kind of just gave him some mundane reasons and brushed off his answers. So I'm going to ask you first, what do you think he should do as a junior soldier? He wants to make sure that when he hits a primary zone to get promoted, he does. Or at least, gets promotable. What's your advice?
Yeah. Well, I would say those might actually be two separate things. Becoming promotable is super, super easy. Because all you got to do is go to a board, right? Like your first line leadership needs to like you, and they have to send you to a board. And there's plenty of people that go that don't necessarily need to be NCOs, right? So that's very easy. But if you want to stand out, it's just becoming an expert. Like we already hit on this. Like, just know your trade, take that initiative. Like you shouldn't be told what to do. You should know, like, hey, I know this is my truck. I know all the problems are on it. Let me just double check, make sure these problems are here. Let me see if I can try to fix them. Like go find who I need to talk to and talk to them and take care of it. Or even as simple as like, hey, I know we went to the range yesterday. I know I'm gonna have to clean my weapon today. I might as well go to the arms room as soon as they open and take it out. Like someone doesn't need to tell me like, hey, go, you got to clean the weapons today. Even stuff like that, or even like you'll notice the patterns in your unit after time. Like, hey, every second Friday of the month, we're picking weeds over here. Maybe we should just like organize now so that we're not there forever. So standing out as a specialist is all about just taking initiative more than anything else. Like know your job and take initiative. That's really all it is.
Yes. You hit the nail on the head. So one thing that this platoon I had when Freddie was in it, and I can honestly say I don't know if I've ever had another platoon before or after. Well, I didn't have any platoons after because I went and taught, but I would come to work, we'd go to our morning meeting or whatever, and I'd come down from the meeting, and these guys already had started doing the physical training stuff. They didn't wait for me to tell them to do physical training. They just did it. They started. I just jumped in when I could, like wherever it was. I didn't run with them, so all those stretches didn't matter anyway. But like Freddie just mentioned cleaning weapons. I would come in the day after a range. I'd go up to my desk, like, all right, here's what I got to do. I got to get these guys hot on their weapons. I got to make sure all the 5980, the maintenance forms are turned in so I can get any issues that are fixed. Like, I would get in there, and Amanda would have already had all my maintenance forms, not numerically ordered. Not only that, but like all the problems listed. She would have a notebook with every fault that we like need to order parts for, like on it. I'd go down and Freddie's already got a 240 Bravo disassembled, and he brought like Hayden with him and Aaron, and they were down there just talking, chatting, pulling weapons apart and cleaning them. Like I would walk into the room and I wouldn't have to put out any orders. And it was at that point I was like, these guys get it. Like they totally understood. They knew I had so many things that I had to have it. I was so particular. I had to have all my keys in a plastic box that had dividers. I had to have like everything was organized the way I could understand it, and it worked well. How many times we just go get a plastic box and bring it to the motor pool while everyone else is freaking out looking for their keys, losing them? And the first thing I did
Yep.
with Freddie, when he became my driver, I gave him the keys and I said, hey, go make a copy because this is your truck. You need keys to your truck. And
Yeah.
it became what you do. I think Guy mentioned it. I mentioned it. Empower your junior enlisted. Just because he was a private does not mean he's not responsible or able to take care of his business. You give him a task. I mean, if they care, they'll do it. And that's all I did. Give him. This dude would come, like, he'd be in the motor pool where we keep all of our vehicles, and our hood is up, and he's already got it taken apart before I even get down there. And he's like, I already got it, Sergeant, because I'd try to help him. It didn't matter. I just walk around looking like an idiot because he was already done. But, like, that's it. He hit the nail on the head. Initiative. Like, your leadership will have pet peeves, right? These guys learn my pet peeves pretty fast. I hate that word. But there's these corny little things I always wanted done. Like the keys. That's such a silly thing, I know. Everything we filled out, they had to be scanned. I would send these guys to the company scanner, which is in like a separate building from us. Like scan this, like all the time because everything had to be documented. Because if they said, hey, Bourgeois didn't PMCS his vehicle. Actually, here it is. Like, so yeah, I don't know if you can think of any other pet peeves I had, Freddie, because to me they were just like things.
Anytime we color coded things and they'd be like red and green,
Oh.
or like red on the board and red and green.
Why are they both red? Or why are they both green?
What does that purple thing say?
Yeah. We had to put our names on our lockers. I made that happen too, and I made everyone move their locker over to where ours were. That's right. So all of our team could have our lockers in one little spot. And know what happened? That became the company standard. Everyone had to label their lockers with their names and try to get their lockers set up near their team. So, yeah, there were a lot of stupid little things. And a lot of it was, if you have all your ducks in a row, if everything's already squared away and someone says, hey, we need to fix this stuff, well, guess what? Our stuff we're good to go. What do you need help with? Or I can be like, hey, guys, go home. I'll let you know when everyone else is done fixing this stuff. I send them to the barracks or send them to the education center or the library. Hey, go on. Just make sure you have your phone on so I can get a hold of you. Hey, where's your platoon? Oh, they're taking care of the stuff you told them to take care of. Just let them have their off time. But yeah, back to that question. Freddie answered it really well. Become an expert. Right now, as a junior enlisted soldier, they count on you for maintenance of your vehicles. So I told this the same to Cooper 2 weeks ago. If you're going to do maintenance on your vehicle, know your vehicle. Know the maintenance manual. Have that out. Whether it's on your phone or you have the paper one out somewhere, have it out and go line by line and know what you're doing. Because the less NCOs have to rely on you, they're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, do this? Yeah, I got it. Here's the stuff for it. You become more reliable. In their eyes, you become more responsible, which makes you set up to be a junior leader. Because if you can take responsibility for those little things, it's easy. It's super simple to send you to a board and get you promoted to sergeant. Because sergeant, you're finally given a leadership. You're finally giving the rank of a leader. So you're expected to lead, but you're junior enough, you get to learn by a lot of mistakes and hopefully advice from people that have been doing that for a while. So you're probably in the right spot, man. I met you. I was one of your instructors, so I know how you are. So, yeah, you're good, man. If you have any more questions, you know how to get a hold of me all the ways. So, yeah, Freddie, thanks, man. That was a good tip.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, son. Just kidding.
Thanks, Dad.
All right, guys. Let's see how long. It feels like it's been over an hour. How long have we been recording? Where's the timer on this thing? All right, we don't get to know.
It says 100%.
Oh, so we've been recording 100% of the time. So that's how long. All right. All right. Hey, that'll be it. Guys, thank you again for watching, for tuning in, for listening, whatever you want to, whatever platform you're on. Thank you. if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I know I didn't want to do that. And I said last time, it feels weird asking. Hit subscribe. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't. I looked, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. Yeah, you just hit it. You don't even have to. You don't have to pay anything. Trust me, I looked into it. If you want to actually get notifications when I upload, hit the bell button right there and leave a comment. My comment section is so boring. Talk trash to me. I probably won't respond in turn. Like, I won't talk trash back, but at least I hear someone. I don't know. And I'm getting a lot of likes on the Facebook page. That's super awesome. Freddie, thank you for joining. Freddie and I were planning this
Hey, thank you for having me.
30 to 45 minutes before this call, like a long time. So yeah, it was
a long planning process. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was really frustrating, but we got through it. We got through the planning process, and we're done now. So seriously, man, thank you so much for joining. Hey, if you're out in California, or if you know anybody in Northern California or Southern Oregon who's been thinking about joining the Army, Freddie's a recruiter in where Eugene, right?
I sure am.
Yeah, he's a recruiter in Eugene.
Eureka.
All right? When I was a recruiter, I didn't brag about it. All right, and I would have loved to have someone help me out and throw me a bone once in a while. So, you know anybody that wants to join the Army, hit Freddie up. If you need his contact information, I'm not going to give it to you because he doesn't have a government cell phone yet. Or do you? Do you have a government phone yet?
I got it. I just got it.
Okay, you want to throw your number out here?
I sure do.
All right, let's hear it.
Oh.
His number is Freddie Bourgeois.
I don't have it memorized yet. Hang on.
Okay.
It's not memorized. It is 707-572-6185.
All right, I'll put it in the description too. Freddie, text that to me because I'll forget. All right. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's his number. I'll give you his email. I'll give you all that stuff. You know anybody who wants to join in Northern California? I don't care where they are. He can poach all he wants. I got your back, buddy. All right.
Say the word. I'll put him in.
But he's a brand new recruiter out there, and he's like reverse following my footsteps right now, and I love it. I was an artilleryman. I deployed, came back, got recruiting, and I reclassed. He's not going to reclass, but he's following the same exact footsteps as me. I love it. It's hilarious. It's same like time in the Army and everything. So, yeah. Well, have you been in 6 years? How long have you been in?
I've been in. It'll be 8 years in January.
Okay, I hit my 7. I was in 7. It's almost 8. So there you go. Yeah. All right, man. But he's not going to get super obese or break his back. So he's got that going for him. I mean, I don't want to take the obesity away because it's fun being fat. You got all the jokes right there. Yeah, I'm super proud of this guy. He's one of my favorite soldiers ever. One of my favorite men. I have a lot of favorite men. But he was, I did the like and subscribe stuff way too early because I want to tell you, Freddie makes it a point to come visit every chance he can get. If he's traveling east to west coast, whatever he's got to do, if he wants to go somewhere for the holidays, he already knows we have a bed for him and we got a whole basement apartment for him, whatever he wants. And he comes and visits for holidays, no matter what. Like, I love this guy. My family loves him. Kids love him. My dogs love him. You haven't met the other animals yet. They all love you. He's a lovable dude. So if you put some of your friends in the Army, you'll love him. All right. But like and subscribe, all that stuff. Jot his number down. Again, it'll be in the description. Freddie, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it, dude.
It's a good time.
That's it. Strong silent type, man. I love it. All right. Thanks, everyone, again. Till next week.